Week 3, Inside Top Portion, The Price of Freedom. Living free seems so easy. You might even wonder why anyone would have to pay for it. Here's the reason. When you live in a country without freedom, it's very hard to become free. Governments who control the lives of its citizens do not want to give up that power. Just think about whenever you're in a group or in a game. The people who have the power or are really good at whatever they do, they tend to get bossy. They never want to give it up. They want to be the leader at all times. People are just like that in the government. Now, you have to fight for your freedom. The fight for freedom often means death in the real world. Many Americans did not know how dangerous it was to break away from Great Britain in the 1700s. Now, back then, in the late 1700s, we were part of Great Britain. We were not called America, our own country. We were part of Great Britain, even though we're located in the same spot we are now. It was just different ownership in a way. Great Britain was the most powerful country in the world. The American colonies were weak. The 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence knew they would be hunted down and possibly killed for declaring freedom from Great Britain. Their desire for freedom was strong. However, they were willing to take that chance. The house cat versus the lion. What chance did the United States have of winning a war against Great Britain in 1776? Here is a helpful way to think about how dangerous it was to go to war against the most powerful country in the world. Imagine your high school football team has decided to challenge last year's Super Bowl champions to a game. Now, I know Hudson doesn't have football, but you could imagine our softball team or our baseball team playing the World Series champs. Do you think your school would have a chance of winning? Of course they wouldn't. It would be like a house cat challenging a lion. Even if your school had the best high school team in Texas, which, by the way, softball girls, we did, they still would be lucky to score against any of the professionals, like football players in the Super Bowl. Your players would also be very lucky if they weren't seriously hurt. Professional football players know how to hit hard. The same thing was true when the United States won independence from Great Britain. The American Army lost battle after battle. At one point, General George Washington believed they had no chance, but they kept fighting. The desire for freedom combined with great courage made the impossible happen. The house cat won. The United States beat the mighty army of Great Britain. One story of sacrifice. Courage was important in gaining our freedom. Abraham Clark was a man with great courage. He was one of the men who signed the Declaration of Independence. Clark's two sons joined the fight against Great Britain. During the war, they were captured and sent to the Jersey, a British prison ship. Living conditions were horrible. More than 11,000 American prisoners died from disease and starvation on this ship. Clark's young sons were treated more cruelly than the other prisoners because their father signed the Declaration of Independence. One son was placed in solitary and given no food. Solitary is a small cell where a prisoner can't see or talk to anyone else. When the war was almost over, the British made Abraham Clark an offer. They told him they would free his sons if he would turn against the United States. Clark also had to say he supported the King of England. This was a painful decision for Abraham Clark. He said no. Few people would have blamed Clark for saving his sons. All he had to do was agree that Great Britain was the greatest thing and that the king was the greatest. But he didn't. Abraham Clark knew freedom was precious. He knew it could not be won without sacrifice. Sacrifice means giving up something very important to get something of greater value. In this case, he gave up his sons. There are many other stories about sacrifices made by the colonists. Without these sacrifices, we would not be free today. Freedom is a hard-bought thing. Paul Robson.